So Ramaphosa says he's ready to make a deal with Trump so that these tariffs don't come. He's not saying what this deal would be, but as usual, all of this to me is just theater and games. What do you think? There's no way that America is giving agricultural aid to South Africa just because it wants to help them. It goes against this USA thing, which is being used for terrorism. And a lot of South Africans are complaining that, oh, we're going to lose this agricultural aid. Let me tell you something. That agricultural aid is not going to agriculture in South Africa. It's going straight into Ramaphosa's pocket, going straight into Malema's pocket, going straight into Zuma's pocket. It's not really going for agriculture. And it's also going for white agricultural business people. So if I were a black South African, I wouldn't cry about that. And also if I were a white South African, I wouldn't cry either, because the West will always take care of the white South Africans. What is your thought, Afolabi? And also, I doubt very much that white people's land will be seized in South Africa. It's just that the law is ambiguous, so that if the black people wanted to, they could probably do it, but they would have to justify.
The way Ramaphosa is approaching it now, I think it's best. He knows that you can't win. You can't win trade war with America. So it's something that you just have to calm down, play the game of Trump and okay, like just chief or like just please your big brother. America is a big brother to a lot of countries in the world.
Yeah,
so you just have to accept the fact that you can't deal with America the way you deal with other countries.
And this goes back to the point as with why must South Africa be America's little brother? I'll tell you why. Because African nations, not only South Africa, Nigeria, we're so corrupt and our economies are so fucked up that we're not sovereign. And the reason we're not sovereign is not because of white supremacy, it's not because of colonialism, it's because of corruption. Nigeria, South Africa, and if Nigeria and South Africa were unified as an economic bloc with Egypt and other countries, then the US and China can't do what they're doing to us. What do you think? Yeah, a perfect example is Ramaphosa won. And instead of bringing in the EFF and Jacob Zuma's party, and the EFF, which stands for Socialism and Black Power, he brought in the white company, the white powers, the Democratic Alliance, who work with Trump and who work with Elon Musk. He made them part of his unity government. South African people, you are looking at ANC fuck you up, and you're still sitting down there shouting proudly. What are your thoughts?
Good evening, our fans from around the world. It's another South African show, and we're looking at the fallout of the tariffs of Donald Trump on South Africa. And with me to discuss that is Mustafa Jinodo. I'm still Afolabi. You're welcome to the show.
All right, thank you very much. So we're going to talk about the continuing drama between Elon Musk, Trump, and Ramaphosa of South Africa. It seems like the heat has been taken off of Malema. I haven't heard his name, but in the news again, they're talking about the tariffs that the U.S. is going to purportedly put on South African goods. And I want to explain something to people. When the U.S. says it's going to tariff South African goods, it doesn't mean that they're going to they're going to tariff South Africa. What it means is that any importers who bring in South African goods, Americans, are the ones who will have to pay the tariff. You understand what I'm saying? And then they will pass on the price to the Americans. But we know what will happen. If you put tariffs on South African goods, it's going to make those goods more expensive. And then maybe Americans won't buy them, and then they'll buy American goods. To me, that sounds fair. Doesn't it sound fair to you?
Yes, it does.
It's fair, because what will happen? So we need to realize that, because Trump says it's a tax on South Africa or some tax on it. It's not a tax on the other country. It's a tax on the American people. And either they have a choice. They buy it or they buy American goods. It may be very well that after you put tariffs on South African goods, Americans will still buy them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So that leads to a very complex situation, because if Americans, for example, if after you put tariffs on South African goods, South African companies will not lose anything. It is the person who's buying it that will have to add it, so it'll be Americans who pay. So why should South Africans complain?
Absolutely.
But if the tariffs are too high, then Americans will stop buying South African goods.
Sure.
And then when they buy less South African goods, South African industries will fall. So to me, we don't know yet, but this may just be a tax on the American people. And if it is, no big problem for South Africa. Let's start with that first point. What do you think, Falabi?
Yeah, basically what I feel is that imposing tariffs on South African goods could lead to South Africa to retaliate by banning exports of some critical mineral resources.
Okay, but let's address the first thing. If there's a tariff on South African goods and Americans continue buying and the companies buying, it doesn't hurt South Africa. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, it doesn't.
But you're right. South Africa retaliate and it'll be the same thing. But here's the question. then South Africans will stop buying American. Yeah, continue. I cut in front of you because you didn't address that issue, but
Yeah,
continue
yeah,
with your strength.
yeah. Platinum, chromium, manganese, and vanadium are very important for the US industries,
Yeah,
and especially in aerospace and automobile. So now they are vital for manufacturing, especially in motor vehicles and aerospace. Now, if there are tariffs on this, what is going to happen is that South Africa is going to cut their exports into the US, and it's going to affect the price of the consumer in the US and the manufacturing sector in the US. Basically, that's what I feel.
yeah, by a small sector but we also have to remember that the market is big. So if the South African market
Yeah.
disappears, the U.S. might find alternative markets.
That's
India,
exactly what I'm saying. That
China.
it's
Yeah,
it's a it's a ripple effect. When this
yeah,
happens, US will begin to look for alternatives in some other African countries where there is alternative, especially West African countries that do business with the United States of America. So it looks like it's something that will just even out at the end of the day, because most of these resources that are gotten from South Africa, they could also get from other African countries. That's the way I see it.
yeah, yeah. And so you're right. So, but I still think that one of the issues here is that if tariffs are added to South African goods and they're not too heavy, then the South African exports to America will not reduce. For example, let me give you an example. Let's say South African uh, platinum comes for it's 22 cents a gram. I'm not saying that's what it is. If they now put a tax on it for 25, South African companies won't pay that. American companies will pay it, but they'll just pass it on to the Americans and nothing changes because the Americans would rather pay 28%, 28 cents than if it was gotten from America or someone else and it's going to be 35 cents. You understand? So there's a ceiling that has to be, there's a threshold. It's
Yeah,
just like if
yeah,
tomorrow, let's say American made cars $35,000 and a Chinese car is 20. Even when you add that $1,000 on the Chinese, it's not 30, it's still lower than the American. So Americans will still buy Chinese cars, so it will not affect Chinese import exports. Do you see what I'm saying? But
yeah.
that's a separate. But now, so we've dealt with that. So what you said is what Ramaphosa is concerned of. So Ramaphosa says he's ready to make a deal with Trump so that these tariffs don't come. He's not saying what this deal would be, but as usual, all of this to me is just theater and games. What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because if you look at the whole thing, Trump might be frustrated because of the voter base in the United States, particularly the working class that are in the manufacturing sector. Because if this happens, the guys in the manufacturing sector are going to be the hardest hit with this. If companies face
Because they
reduced,
need South African raw materials. Yeah.
they do, and they're going to end up being less competitive. And there's going to be job cuts, and there's going to be problem in supply chain, and
Yeah, yeah.
there'll be higher production costs.
Let me
So
tell you
what
what
I
will
feel is,
happen.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, what
What
I
will
feel is
happen?
that controversially,
Go ahead. You go ahead. Sorry.
the African farmers that are refugees could amplify the backlash. And I feel that the misuse of the immigration policy, accusing the administration of prioritizing a specific racial group, could reinforce perception of bias. And at the end of the day, everything could even out, because the way it is now, if South Africa stops exporting to United States of America, and another critical sector is wine and basically mineral resources that are used for automotive and aerospace. If they stop that, what is going to happen is that um, America is going to look for alternatives in Africa, and they will find it.
Oh, they'll
They're
find
going to
it.
find it.
Or and very sorry to cut in front. Or China may just get it from South Africa and then sell it back to America again. Do you see what I'm saying? This thing is a
And
game.
America too has been magnanimous enough to give South Africa some leeway in not allowing them to pay duties for some of these exports.
Yeah. Okay,
And
now
if they're unable to do their own side of the business, they're going to look for African countries that are going to be giving duty-free exports too, and they're going to do business with them. So I believe
yeah.
at the end of the day,
So what is
everything
it?
is going
So
to
now
even
doing
out, and
business.
they're going to find a way of resolving it.
Yeah. And so now but now there's another side because Trump, I think he's doing this because of Elon Musk. He's saying that he's doing this because South Africa is taking land from white people and things. But now he's mixing things up. Tariffs are trade acts. What he's going to do is cut we don't want to mistake tariffs with the Agricultural Act of America, in which that's what they give duty free is the Agricultural Act.
Yeah.
That's different from tariff. So we have to be careful because these people switch their words around. So he's
Yeah.
threatening to cut South African aid for the agricultural thing, and because of them dispossessing whites. But we know that most of the agricultural industry in South Africa is run and dominated by whites. And if that duty free comes, it's also a tariff. You're right. It's also a tariff. But here's what I want to say: that there's no way that America is giving agricultural aid to South Africa just because it wants to help them. It goes again to this USA thing, which is being used for terrorism. And a lot of South Africans are complaining that, oh, we're going to lose this agricultural aid. Let me tell you something. That agricultural aid is not going to agriculture in South Africa. It's going straight into Ramaphosa's pocket, going straight into Malema's pocket, going straight into Zuma's pocket. It's not really going for agriculture. And it's also going for white agricultural business people. So if I were a black South African, I wouldn't cry about that. And also if I were a white South African, I wouldn't cry either, because the West will always take care of the white South Africans. What is your thought, Afolabi?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think South Africa has to be careful here. They need to navigate subtly their relationship with BRICS, because the way it is now, South Africa's economy relies heavily on exports like platinum. And so basically what I'm saying is that if you look at, I was talking about South Africa being export dependent.
Yeah, they need to be careful. You said they need to be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to be careful because they're export dependent. The way US is trying to distract South Africa from their relationship with BRICS so that they can get bilateral relationships with China and India. So that if there's a problem between US and South Africa, there are alternatives. So South
And
Africa
the US
needs
also
to be
wants to
careful.
steal South
Because
African market
for every
and
wrong move that South Africa makes, the United States of America has got an alternative that's going to hurt South Africa on the long run. So I think they have to weigh the pros and cons and find out if it's going to pay them at the end of the day.
And the US may even displace South Africa within BRICS and have more trading power within BRICS.
Oh, sure.
So South Africa needs to get its act together. And they made a very bad move by doing this expropriation act, because as Lorato and other people said, this expropriation act is nothing new. They already have these laws. They could have kept it quiet. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but they gave the US a stranglehold to come in and do these
and I believe there's a way they can make justice prevail without necessarily creating new laws. They want a level playing field.
Also, let's look at the South African law. So what it says is that this new expropriation law will, in some cases, not all cases, seize land from white. Land is 50 kilometers long, but you only use 2 kilometers of it for your business. You understand what I'm saying, Afolabi? Yeah. But, and also, I doubt very much that white people's land will be seized in South Africa. It's just that the law is ambiguous, so that if the black people wanted to, they could probably do it, but they would have to justify it. What do you think, Afolabi?
Yeah, I agree with you. And the way it is now, the rand also has been very, very
strong. Bring that up.
Yeah, the rand has been stable despite global market volatility, and I believe this is because they have not been exposed to direct United States trade in the recent past. Unlike other emerging markets currencies, the rand does not depend so much on the United States dollar. So the dollar is a little bit weak. So I think for the time being, that can happen. But as time goes on, if the US shifts its base away from South Africa and begin to look for alternative trade partners, the rand will fall, and it's going to affect the economy of the.
The US is stronger than South Africa, so South Africa has to be careful. And what I'm saying is that South Africa needs to stop. They don't need to say, "Oh, we're doing this expropriation bill." South Africa can do whatever it wants to do, but they need to be very careful. And we need to go back to the fact that there is a lot of land that the South African government has appropriated.
I think why they're a little bit. I think why they're a little bit bullish is because of their trade relationship with China. China is a major, they're a major buyer of their mineral resources. I think that's why they.
Okay, then if that's the case, then they don't have to worry about America. Then you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
If that's the case, then they don't need to
Because
worry
they
about
have a market in China
So
that is
what I sense is
reliable.
that the reason Ramaphosa wants to meet with the U.S. to do a deal is because if they do this sanction, it's going to affect him. Ramaphosa knows what his deal with is with
Of
America.
course.
If you understand what I'm
Of
saying.
course. And apart
So,
from
so
the
I think that when
Yeah.
Ramaphosa says when Ramaphosa says I want to do a deal, it's not that he's doing it in benefit for South Africa because they have the Chinese market. He's trying to protect his own business interests in South Africa, which may be sanctioned. His own business interests in South Africa.
yes, and not just business interest, Mustafa, but political interest as well. His
Yeah.
political rating could go down in South Africa
Yeah.
if he
Yeah.
doesn't
Okay. What are
navigate
your
this
thoughts?
properly.
Thank you. Good
Saeed.
point. What are your thoughts, Saeed? Yeah.
Yeah, so this is how I see it. So I think Ramaphosa is actually playing it kind of the right way. He's not going about it the way all these European and this currently this Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is going about, like trying to take tank with US. You can't win the tariff war with US. So I think my own personal opinion and how I see it, this is what Trump is trying to do. He is just trying to shape things. Mr. Mustafa made an earlier comment about connecting it with US aid, corruption or something. So there's a lot of deals, wrong deals that were made in the past that I believe Trump is trying to correct. So all this trade war, I think if anybody who understands business and understand how Trump works, the person will know that he is just trying to renegotiate how how things were. So all this tariff war between Canada and now South Africa, you understand? So it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something personal. It's just something like he just wants. Oh, this is how you guys are doing. I don't
It's
want
like
it anymore.
Game
So
of Thrones.
yeah.
It's a
So
Game of Thrones.
to me, it's nothing personal. It's just business. So the way Ramaphosa is approaching it now, I think it's best. He knows that you can't win. You can't win trade war with America. So it's something that you just have to calm down, play the game of Trump and okay, like just chief or you know, like just please your big brother. America is a big brother to a lot of countries in the world.
Yes,
So
that's
you
true.
just have to accept the fact that
And this
you
goes
can't
back,
deal with America the way you deal with other
and this goes
countries.
back to the point as with why must South Africa be America's little brother? I'll tell you why. Because African nations, not only South Africa, Nigeria, we're so corrupt and our economies are so fucked up that we're not sovereign. And the reason we're not sovereign is not because of white supremacy, it's not because of colonialism, it's because of corruption. Nigeria, South
Every,
Africa,
every,
and if Nigeria and South Africa were unified as an economic bloc with Egypt and other countries, then the US and China can't do what they're doing to us. What do you think?
exactly. But we've not gotten to the point. We've not gotten to
Yeah,
that
so then
point.
we need
So
to,
as
and
it's
that's
right
why we
now,
need to
every
bring.
nation in Africa needs America one way or the other.
Here's
You
a
know,
perfect
like they
example.
have so many influences on us.
Yeah, a perfect example is Ramaphosa won. And instead of bringing in the EFF and Jacob Zuma's party and the EFF, which stands for socialism and black power, he brought in the white company, the white powers, the Democratic Alliance, who work with Trump and who work with Elon Musk. He made them part of his unity government. South African people, you are looking at ANC fuck you up, and you're still sitting down there shouting proudly. What are your thoughts, Afolabi? Yeah.
I agree with you. And the catalyst for all of this is Donald Trump. I think he sees the land expropriation law without compensation as a violation of property rights, first and
He
foremost.
also sees it as
It
an
is a
excuse to.
violation.
And his
He
Without,
also sees
administration,
if we are not going to be biased, it is a violation. How can you take someone's land and you compensate them?
yes, it's a
This is
violation.
not between
it's
black
a
and white.
violation.
I
It's
agree
a
with you, it's a
violation.
violation. And his administration and the Republican base strongly oppose this. By threatening trade sanctions and tariffs, he wants to force South Africa into abandoning or modifying the land policy so as to protect the African farmers. I just feel that's the direction he's looking at. And
Yeah,
now,
no, I agree with you, but I think he's using that. I think his main concern though is American trade interests, but he's using that because
yes,
Elon Musk is
yes,
focusing. But now let's go back to one other thing. We have to say this again. South Africa has not dispensated. The black government has taken land. They've held land and they've held housing, and they haven't dispensed it to the black South Africans. So they're using this unfair appropriation of seizing people's land as a distraction on the fact that the South African government is supposed to give, I think it's $22 billion, 22 billion rand worth of land to Black South Africans, and they're not. Because we know why they're not. Ramaphosa is collecting the interest on it. What do you think, Saeed? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said in one of our last episodes, like this is just like a cover up for the incompetence of the government of South Africa. Because what about the land you have already? What about the current farmers you have, the black farmers that you have? Are they what benefits are you giving them already? If they have
Nothing.
this benefit, they should be rich enough to be able to even buy land from these white folks or something. So it is not something that I'm quite agreeing with. Because how can you say you want to collect land from the white, say because of giving this kind of coloration? I think going back to what he's doing, I think it's just to put them like, hey guys, I'm watching you, and what you're doing in South Africa. So it's just Trump trying to put
But
them on their toes that they should
at the
behave
same
and they
time,
should
we
try
have to
and be
attack
amends.
Trump. But and I'm going to hear what you have to say about this site. We have to attack Trump too. He's attacking South Africa for standing up for Palestine. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think we because of where he stands, he's a
No, no. What do you think?
pro-Israel
What do you
president.
think?
So
Whose side are you on that one? South Africa stood up for Palestine. Whose side are you on in that debate?
I think I'll be neutral on that one because
I'm surprised of
I
you, Said.
think yes.
I'm very surprised with you. I'm surprised that you don't even
You know, like
want to
I
attack.
have
No,
to
no.
tell,
Let me finish. You
like
don't want
there
to.
are so
No, no.
many,
You're being neutral. No, 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 no,
huh?
no. No, no, there's a genocide going on in South Africa, in Israel, and you don't want to
Yeah,
stand up against
Of course,
you
there
don't
is
want to
Palestinians,
stand up
genocide
against
going on
Israel.
Palestinians
in
are
No,
being
Gaza, in
Said,
destroyed
I'm very
Palestine.
further.
I
surprised with
know,
you. I'm very
but
surprised with you. No, we
immediately
can't be
Trump came
neutral.
in,
Said, we
Trump has
can't be
put a
neutral
stop.
in this world. We can't be neutral in this world. When they were killing us and doing that, we wanted people to stand up. And you're telling me that you're neutral when Trump is telling South Africa that they're wrong for challenging Israel, for killing Palestinians unfairly and doing apartheid in Palestine. Is that what you're telling me? You're neutral.
No, like
Okay, no
that is
problem.
not what I'm saying.
Okay,
Like
no,
what
no, no
I'm trying
problem.
to
I won't
say.
even argue with you. I respect your opinion.
No,
What are
no,
your
no, no.
thoughts
Like
on
what I'm trying to say is that the on the Palestine and Israel issue, we all know how
No, no,
so
yeah, but
many
you haven't.
years
I
this
asked
thing
you a
has been
simple
going on between
question.
them.
I asked you a simple question. Trump is saying that he wants to punish South Africa for standing up against genocide and apartheid. Are you going to tell me that he's right in doing that or wrong? Don't take a neutral. We can't take neutral when it comes to
I
children.
don't think
What
Trump
Children are
I
Israel,
don't
getting
think
killed.
Trump
what
Children are
Trump said
getting
Israel,
that.
killed,
what
Saeed.
Israel
Okay,
is
Saeed, you're
doing,
going on record.
I don't
You're going on
think
record as
Trump
neutral.
said that.
You're going on record as
Is
neutral.
it on record that Trump said he's going to
Oh yes,
punish
Trump has
Africa
said it.
for
He called it
supporting
out.
Palestine?
Okay, okay. Let's
I would
let's
like
speak
to see the
hypothetically.
video. I would
Okay,
like to see the video
let's
before
speak
I can comment on
hypothetically.
that.
Sorry, let's speak hypothetically. If he did say it, what do you have to say? If he did say that.
Now you are saying it that if he did say it, then I will be disappointed.
Okay, don't
You
worry.
understand
To
that he
find the
made
proof,
such
I'm going to give
comments.
you some quotes. I'm going to give you some quotes that Trump has said. Then we can talk about that. Go ahead, Afolabi. What do you have to say?
Then we can talk about it
yeah,
because
yeah,
Okay, go
you're
ahead.
saying you're telling me that I should imagine him saying that. That is
Yeah, yeah.
another thing entirely.
Okay, Afolabi, what are your thoughts? Don't worry. I'm going to Google it now, Said. Afolabi,
what
go.
All
Israel
right.
has done, what Israel has done is nothing short of genocide. And it's clear Israel has been genocidal towards the Palestinians, and America has supported them. All the the bases
I mean,
against the
Israel
Palestinians,
went too far. I quite agree with that. The
all
Yeah, but
all
genocide
all,
thing
all the
really
support,
happened
let
all the
Afolabi finish.
support,
in Gaza.
all the
They
support.
went too far, but that doesn't
Yes,
mean
yes,
that they too they can't say
all
that they
the
are
all the
justified in some aspect. That's
excuses,
what I'm saying. Like it's not
all
a
the
yes
excuses,
answer.
all the excuses that Israel gave for doing what they did, most of them are untrue. They used it as a basis to continue to genocidally wipe out the Palestinians. That's what I feel, and that's what's still
And Trump
going
is
on.
helping them
And
because
and,
here's
and
what Trump said. Trump said, "Don't go back to your home. Go to Egypt. Go. Why would you want to go to your home after they bombed it? Very wrong. Go ahead,
yeah,
Afolabi. Yeah.
yes, and Biden supported him in carrying out those acts of genocide in
Yes.
Palestine. Most of the excuses they gave were not valid. It was checked, it was investigated, and they saw that they were just basically excuses to use to kill the Palestinians. And the end game here is occupation. Israel wants occupation of their land and territory.
I quite agree that Israel really wants occupation, but you saying that the majority of what the excuses they gave, I think if you check
so
it,
let's go.
Palestinian and
So Sai, let's go
people,
back.
they
Sai,
actually
let's go back.
they
Sai,
killed a lot of civilians too
before October
before they
7th.
attacked them.
Sai, before Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, Israeli soldiers were coming into Palestine and killing people, taking their land. No, they weren't killing people. They were allowing settlers to steal land from Israelis, to steal land from Palestinians. And Hamas said, if you keep doing this, we're going to strike you. And my argument is that October 7th strike by Palestine was a counteract of aggression against a country which is victimizing them. It's just the same as what Haiti did to France. France came into Haiti and took their land, so the Haitians killed them. What Hamas did to Israel was in retaliation for 50 years of colonialism within Israel, within Palestine. They were doing an attack, and what Israel did was to just bomb and kill children. No, and South Africa challenged Israel on genocide. They said that Israel is killing children and women. They're not fighting Hamas.
I'll say what you're saying is not true. Fine, it's true. But another angle I would like you to check is during this period of attacking. It's not as if I'm supporting Israel for the, as in, like I said, they went too far in trying to eradicate Hamas and the militant people in Palestine. I understand that is my point. But what I'm saying is during their attack, what they said was they are using human shield in order for them not to attack them on their base. I believe you understand what I'm saying. They are using human shield.
It's a lie.
Are you saying that is wrong too?
It's a lie. It's a lie. They've shown videos of Israeli soldiers shooting children and women who are walking on the streets. It is a lie. They're killing. What they're doing is they're killing Palestinians.
Then that is totally wrong.
When you have a sniper, they shoot snipers, and woman is going to pick up her child on a bike, and they shoot the woman in the head. That's what South Africa is against. That's not human shield.
No, it's not human shield.
That's not human shield.
Go ahead, follow.
That's not human shield.
Yeah, it's not human shield. A lot of what Israel did was just a drama and a comedy to use as excuse to continue killing those people and carrying out genocide so that the whole world can sympathize with them and support them. Not many of the things they did were right. And the end game here is Israel wants occupation and they want the support of the West and America.
Israel has occupied Palestine for almost 60 or 70 years now. Do you know that in Israel, if you sleep with a Palestinian person, you have to go and tell the government that you slept with them? They don't allow them. They don't even allow them to move freely in their own territory. We don't even need to argue this anymore because there's no point. Okay, take us out, Afolabi. Yeah.
Okay, it's been a wonderful show. We've been talking about the backlash of the United States tariff on South Africa and what it portends and the various ramifications as they continue to navigate the labyrinth of economic and political landscape. And I've been discussing with Mustafa and Said Andu. You guys have been wonderful on the show. Until the next time, it's bye for now.
All right, thank you guys. Good show.
Thank you.